This will be the introduction to playing chords on the piano and a brief explanation as to what chords are. The first chords that we're going to discuss are essentially the first chords introduced in most beginner piano books, although there are some differences, as not every book is the same anyway. A chord, by my definition, is essentially two or more notes being played at the same time. Some people define it as three or more. I like to leave the possibilities of having fewer notes or more notes, really anything that's not two of the same note. So that's a chord, that's a chord, that's a chord, that's a chord, although not a particularly beautiful one. Those are all chords. The chord we're going to start playing for music, we're going to discuss the C major chord. We're going to put our bottom finger on C, in this case for my left hand, the pinky, and we are going to find with every other finger, every other note. So C, E, and G. That is going to make our C major chord. With the right hand, we are going to find the same notes. So the thumb will be on C, and this is middle C here, and we're going to find every other note, the same notes as the left hand. C, E, and a G with the first, third, and fifth fingers. Let's play all of those notes all at once. That's C major. And also this is the first thing on the page that I have provided in the description. This is exercise number 1, and this will be all of the primary chords that we're going to have in the key of C major. The primary chords being the 3 major chords that exist in that key. Now, the next major chord that exists in this key is the F major chord. Now, we could just take our hands and shift them up and find F major, but that's not very efficient. Instead, we want to try and move around as little as possible. So to find all of the notes in the F major chord, all we really need to do is keep the C that we already have, since F requires C, and we need to take the top 2 notes that we had before, and we have to scoot them up a little bit. We're going to move them up 1 note each in the scale. So we're going to take these 2 fingers with the left hand. We're going to take this one, which is already on top of F, and we're going to take the thumb, and we're going to scoot the thumb up 1 note. And we're going to find C, F, and A, and that will be the F major chord. Let's do that same thing in the right hand. So we had C major. We're going to take the 3rd finger and scoot the 3rd finger up, and we're going to take the pinky and scoot the pinky up. Now we could put the 4th finger on F. I think this is a little bit more comfortable for smaller hands though, so we're still using the same fingers that we used for the C major chord. So let's try switching between those 2 chords. Here's the C chord. Now scoot up and find the F chord. Now we're going to go back to the C chord before we get to our last chord, just because it's a little bit easier to find the next chord from here. The next chord will be the G major chord, and we are going to do something very similar that we did to get to the F chord. We're going to take the bottom 2 notes this time, and we're going to take the bottom 2 notes and we're going to shift them down. So we had these 2 as the bottom notes, C and E, and we're going to shift them down to find B and D instead. So for the left hand, just like we did the right hand, we're going to take the same fingers that we had and shift them down to find B and D, and we're going to keep the G on top. And that makes the G chord. Again, this is more efficient than taking the whole hand and bringing the whole hand up to find G on the bottom again. We get the same notes, but we don't have to go anywhere to find them. Let's try that a couple times. Okay, Same thing with the right hand, except this time we're going to keep the second finger on D and just move the thumb down. Let's try that with both hands. Okay, so now that we have all three of these chords, let's try to play them in sequence. Again, this is number 1 from the page that I have provided in the description. This is the 3 primary chords that we get in the key of C major. The first chord is going to be C. Let's play together. Here's the first chord, C. Now we're going to find the F chord. The top 2 notes move up. And then the C chord, and then the G chord, and back to the C chord. Okay, one more time, just like that. Here's the first chord from number 1, C, and now the F chord, and now the C chord again, and the G chord, and the C chord. Okay, after you play through number 1 a couple times, you'll be ready to play a few songs using these chords in this key, and I have provided a couple that use these chords. The first one is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or the alphabet song if you prefer, since most people know the words to the alphabet song, I hope. And if you don't, go learn it now. It's kind of important for reading. Reading is important. Let's get through Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. You can watch my right hand to get the notes if you can't read them, although I have provided them so you can read them. I've also labeled some of the chords and provided spaces for you to label them yourself if you would like, because having reminders is always helpful. The melody requires 6 notes and you only have 5 fingers, so you can either do what I do, which is to scoot the pinky up and use the pinky a few times in a row in order to get them. But what we're really focusing on is what the left hand is doing here, which is playing the chords. So the rest of the video, I'm just going to play through these slowly, and you can play along or you can listen and you can read it later. Either way is fine with me. So here's number 2, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I'm going to count in so that you can play along if you'd like to. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, the second piece I have provided is the melody from Ode to Joy by Beethoven. This melody only uses 5 notes, so if you put your third finger on E, which it should already be, then you'll have access to all of the notes. This one only uses 2 of the chords, so it's a little bit simpler. We only need the C chord and the G chord, and we get a lot of the C chord. So it's really more of an exercise for the right hand, maybe, unless you are still having trouble with the chords, then of course we want to make sure we're getting those too. Here we go with Ode to Joy. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. All right. If you were playing along, I would advise you to do that as many times as you would like in order to make it as consistent as possible. If you enjoyed this little tutorial on the introduction to the first chords you need to play many simple songs, go ahead and like the video. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, because they will be here, and they will all be in a convenient playlist just for piano players learning piano for the first time, like you, if you are watching this and learning piano for the first time. Have a nice day.